Can you beat the system with gold and silver? Can you beat inflation with gold and silver, more importantly? It might be quite a difficult ask with the prices that we're seeing for gold and silver right now at over £1,900 an ounce or $2,500 an ounce. But from experience, if you buy and you just put it away in a safe deposit box for 10 years, you're going to get the same kind of returns that you see here. I've bought these coins for £1,000 an ounce. In fact, I think one of these is even better than that at £940 an ounce. Goodness me, what a return. But does that beat inflation? Could you have done better elsewhere with your money? That's a really important question to ask. So today we're going to do the difficult question of whether or not gold and silver are good enough to invest in and beat inflation. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and welcome to another Precious Metal Ramble where we shoot the breeze about all things precious and shiny. Can you use gold and silver to really protect your wealth against inflation? Are they as good as a lot of people on YouTube will say that they are inflation-beating assets? Well, I've been stacking gold for about 8 years or so and silver for about 9 years, and I've got a lot of insights and experience to talk about. There are some coins on this table. I think this is the one here, that have over doubled in their value over this last 7 or 8 years. And that is quite the inflation beating result. But it's not always that crystal clear. It depends on when you measure to and from, how you measure as well. So there are a lot of misunderstandings about what is an inflation beating asset when it comes to gold and silver, and which is better, gold or silver. I would argue, and I have done for a very long time on my channel now, that gold is better and beats inflation better than silver. But that depends on where you buy and sell your silver in the first place. So lots to cover, and there are so many differing opinions on this. And there is a bit of a kind of echo chamber in some spheres of influence on SilverTube and YouTube that silver and gold are just literally the best thing that you can ever buy to protect your money. And that's not always true. So I hope to be able to give you some of my insights as a seasoned stacker. I've been going for, as I say, 8 years on gold, 9 years on silver, and I've certainly got some interesting experiences and results because we've got a bunch of gold here, which is showing some really very healthy returns on paper at least. And more on these coins as the week progresses. But you know, we'll tell you more about that. I'll give you a little hint at the end of the video for my long-term subscribers what is going to happen to these gold coins. So if you're enjoying the video as we go, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. It'd be great. That's really helpful for us here on YouTube. And if you're not subscribed already and you like our kind of content where we just do an open, honest look at all things gold and silver, then hit the subscribe button. You won't hear an echo chamber here. You're going to hear the hard, honest truth in the real world about what gold and silver are good at, what they're bad at, and what I like about them. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. Our gold and silver inflation busting. Well, it's really difficult to describe what inflation busting actually means. You hear that phrase a lot, or inflation beating. You hear that a lot from different content creators, not only content creators, but national mints will have this kind of thing all plastered around their websites, and you get this from big bullion dealers. They'll have all of this. They want you to believe that because they want you to go and buy all their product. That's part and parcel of doing business in this sphere of influence. You want to be able to convince your customers to spend all their money with you. So there's this echo chamber that sometimes exists over gold and silver. It's good, don't get me wrong, it's really good. But I have been a seasoned investor of gold for a long time, and I have also been a seasoned investor in other things, whether they be real world things like collectibles, but also stocks and shares. And a lot of people watching this channel who are extreme gold and silver bugs might be going, oh, stocks and shares, how stupid could you possibly be? The system is rigged, the bankers hate, blah, 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 blah. That's not how the real world works. There is no echo chamber here. I'm not going to tell you that you can't invest in stocks and shares. I'm not an investment advisor, and I would say, of course, that it's very difficult to pick the right stocks and shares to invest in. But if you are taking a lower risk approach, there are better returns over a period of time than there are with gold and silver. However, that's not why you buy gold and silver, and that's why you don't always just put everything into stocks and shares. It's about a hedge. It's about having more than just one asset within your investment class. So if you are looking to get into something that will be an inflation busting metric, there are really, in my mind, two things, gold being the first one, and something like the S&P 500 or the FTSE 100. Over a long period of time, they both have done the exact same thing, and that is beat inflation, grow your wealth, and it's the surefire way to do it, but you don't go everything into one basket. That's not financial advice. That's not me preaching what you should and shouldn't do. Some people go more heavy into gold. Some people will go heavy into stocks and shares. One thing that is, I think, a common theme from my financial sort of investing history is that just sticking your money into a bank account and watching it dwindle away with the rates of inflation is not something I would recommend. So that's one thing that gold is always really good at, is just beating where cash would be. And that's one of the reasons why I looked to get into this stuff in the first place. I just thought it makes more sense than having cash assets, and I view it as a different type of cash asset. Now, that's where I say gold is better than silver, because while silver, there's a lot of hype about silver being so much more in terms of potential, it is unfortunately a lot less liquid when it comes to buying and selling. Buying less so, because you can buy it pretty easily, but my point is you can't buy it as cheap as easy, certainly here in the UK. Premiums exist, and for a very quick plug, this year of the Dog Perth Mint coin is currently actually up on my website for sale on behalf of a third party. So if you want to get this, then get it. You know, these things are lovely and they're great and they're really fun to have. But if you're a serious investor and you want to look to actually preserve some wealth on this kind of thing, then scrap a premium and buy the cheapest possible Britannia that you can, and you'll be absolutely laughing all the way to the bank. So silver, yes, you can certainly speculate with silver. As I think I have said a number of times on my channel, a lot of the silver, for example, silver bars that I have and I've stacked over my tenure are basically gold in weighting. Now, the biggest problem that I foresee with a lot of the silver that I own in this kind of form, bar form, is around capital gains taxes. And I'll be doing a video on that at some point in the not too distant future, which will go in conjunction with kind of a video next week about what's happening with the gold that you see here on the table. It's going to be an interesting video for sure, and I hope that you'll enjoy that when we get there. But basically, there has come a point in my life and my livelihood, in my sphere of influence as a personal private investor, where I look at what I've got and I think, okay, yeah, those are some really quite tidy profits that are on these bits of gold. But at the same time, I love gold and I think it's got way more potential. Way more potential is actually a really interesting concept for gold. And when you look at inflation busting metrics, which is the topic of today's video, you've got to look at the bigger picture of where the world is going. And I foresee the world being a bigger brown poo storm than it currently is, and continuing to descend into more instability as the years go by. I just can't see how we're going to get back to the happy days norms that we used to have before. And so I do think that there is a lot more room for gold to go. We've seen some all-time highs in US dollars. We've seen close to all-time highs in UK pounds. It depends on the value of your currency at the time. And I just can't see a good reason to be liquidating gold and not having any gold in your stack right now. Now, again, not financial advice, but I do think it's important to have. But then that brings me on to the sort of secondary point of this video, which, if you're still watching to this point, I've been doing this in the last few videos, it's really fun. If you're still watching to this point, it's a really great metric for me to know if you are, by quoting the serial number on this Kilo Degussa bar. So put in the comments D18117, and then I'll know that you're listening to the second part of this video, which comes to where you might see gold going as an inflation busting metric. So inflation right now is lower than it used to be, but it's already jumped a lot. You know, we had this huge inflationary crisis happen over the last couple of years, and that has had an impact on a whole host of things, from grocery prices, gas prices. I'm sounding like an American, but a lot of my viewers are American. Petrol prices at the pumps, and your shopping in your supermarkets. That's what we say here in the UK. But gas prices and energy prices have gone up a lot, and that has had a huge impact. But we're seeing now a stabilization of inflation. We're also seeing stabilization of growth within economic markets. We've seen some growth here in the United Kingdom. And with that is going to come some change over the rest of the next couple of years when it comes to inflation. We're going to see lower rates of it, I think, and that will bring interest rates down, which will also then maybe stabilize things a little bit more for people's spending. Their mortgages will go down, their borrowing will go down, and that's only going to cause, I think, people to, well, just have a little bit more money in their pockets, and we'll see where that ends up with. But unfortunately, what happens with people when they've got more money in their pockets, they spend it, and maybe spend it on things they don't necessarily need. And it's a cyclical thing. We'll end up in a similar situation again in the not too distant future. I think that's my opinion. Again, not fact, not financial advice. So from my perspective now, I don't think selling gold, unless you have to for sort of your long-term financial reasons, or if you want to reinvest it into something else, I don't think that's a wise course of action right now. But if you have to sell gold and you've had it for a while, you're going to be taking some nice profits. But I don't think selling gold right now is a good thing to do, because I see it going up. I can genuinely see in the next 10 years gold doubling again. Now that's speculation beyond belief, and I don't like it when other YouTube channels speculate and say gold's going to shoot the moon and silver too. But I genuinely do think that we're just going to see a slow burn of gold going up, and we're going to hit £2,000 an ounce this year. Pretty much, I think we're nearly there, 1,940 right now. I can see it going over 2,000 an ounce here in the UK. And then the sky's really the limit. I do genuinely think, though, in 10 years, it'll go up there. So if you're buying gold right now, and there's a lot of people who are buying gold, then don't worry about it. Like, you're seeing prices that I've paid here £1,000 an ounce. When I was buying back in 2017, remember, that just sort of 10 years before that, people could buy gold for £400 an ounce. In fact, I was told an interesting story about a customer who had bought a boatload, I won't say how many, a boatload of Krugerrands back in the early 2000s for around £200 an ounce. And that's incredible. Like, oh my God, what a return, right? However, Krugerrands are not capital gains exempt. So the capital gains tax changes that have happened mean that person has got a huge capital gains tax liability on their hands. But if they were to swap them out for gold, then that's something that's really very good indeed. So I can see things continuing to rise. And if you don't have capital gains tax exempt gold, you're in for a bit of a shock when the capital gains tax bill comes in when you've sold things. And that's important. So that's a video to come in the future. I will get onto that topic and how it relates to me and my stack. And for example, things like my silver bars, those are not exempt, and those are going to be at some point a liability in that sense. So what are my plans for them? We'll do that video at some point. But for now, I can foresee gold still continuing to rise. I would say if you're buying right now, and you're buying at £1,950 an ounce, just remember that when I was buying at £1,000 an ounce, that seemed expensive. I've got a couple of other coins here. Actually, here's a good one. We've got two big dealers represented. Look at that. I bought this gold coin in 2023, 1,559. That seemed expensive at the time when you compare with how I was buying 1,000. But when you look at the price right now, 1,940, that's still a great return over a small period of time. So yeah, my point here is that we don't know where things are going to go, but I do foresee a sort of growth for gold over time, and I think that's going to beat inflation. I really do. And for us in the Backyard Bullion household, we're lucky that we got in when we did, but it'll be exactly the same for somebody who's buying now in 10 years from now. And it's all relative, I think. So yeah, quite interesting, I think, to talk about. And I hope that you've got some value out of this little ramble. And if you have, and you're in the Backyard Bullion Rambling Society by watching to the end, then let us know. And if you are in the Cool Kids Club members, then you know what you are. You're super extra special cool. Thank you very much all for watching. Very last quick plug for those long-term viewers. We've got a big pile of them over here. A bunch of Germania Mint stuff up for auction on eBay right now. I'll try and put a working link in the description box. It ends literally in like an hour from watching this video. So if you're watching this later in the day, later in the evening, then you can't bid, but there's some stuff on eBay. And as I said, this Year of the Dog is on our website, which I think is a really, really good deal, really good steal of a price. So if you're interested in that, go and check it out. But otherwise, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. And as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.